Reports are the trade is official. Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets. He is going to wear number 8 in New York, the college number, while at Cal. Here are the details per Adam Schefter. So the Jets and the Packers are swapping first-round picks. Here's what the Jets receive. Aaron Rodgers, pick 15, and a 2023 fifth-round pick. So they get the 15th pick, which is Green Bay's, and they're getting their fifth-round pick this year. The Packers, in return, are getting pick 13, a 2023 second-round pick, which is number 42. They have 2 of those. So the Jets still have a a second-round pick this year. The 42 overall selection in round 2, a 6th-round pick, and then the conditional pick for next year. Here is what many said was the hang-up. The conditional pick is a second-round pick that becomes a first-round pick next year if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the plays in New York for the Jets in 2023. The 65% of snaps taken, Chad, is probably where the biggest part of the negotiation was hung up.
That and, we've talked to former GMs that said the easiest part of this deal, or at least one that right now you're going to be talking about, is probably between a second to a fourth round conditional pick, and the Packers will argue for a first round. That first round be in play with that conditional pick. So I see that, and I think Packers won on that end in getting what they wanted, because that's not a high bar to meet. 65% of available snaps. No. They should get that based on Aaron Rodgers not being hurt a ton. They should get that first-round pick next year. So I say a win for the Packers, the negotiation from that standpoint. A win for all of us. We just mentioned it, but now that this saga is over and Aaron Rodgers is officially a New York Jet, that's a win for everyone.
But also consider for the Packers, I mean, it's a nice deal here because they're trading away a player they weren't going to keep. They decided they were moving on. They have gone through this saga back and forth till they finally said, you know what, we're parting ways. They get the second-round pick this year. I know they wanted a first. They get the second-round pick and a 6th. They're giving up a 5th, and they're swapping first-rounders, so they move up 2 spots in the draft. And, Chad, regardless if he's hurt, if he decides to retire mid-season, whatever, who knows, they're getting a second-round pick next year as well as a part of this compensation that moves to a first when we all expect him to play at least a little over half of the season for New York. Meanwhile, Super Bowl expectations are alive and well for a franchise in New York that has not played on Sunday Night Football since 2012.
Well, I
think about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And now this is the storyline that we all wanted. Everything that Aaron Rodgers does with the Jets will be dissected.
Everything.
Even more so than when he was a Green Bay Packer, and we're going to love that. I think he's fully capable of handling that. I think the media market and media scrutiny in New York is wildly overblown simply because everyone now is covered when you're a superstar quarterback to that level to a big-time extent. So that's going to be nothing new for Aaron Rodgers. I do wonder if in this the compensatory pick or the one that's going to shift up to a first-round pick, if the Jets were arguing about legitimate on-field success being the precursor to it being bumped up to a first-round pick. An example,
point.
If I'm negotiating, I'd say, if we make the playoffs or if we win a playoff game, if we reach the divisional round, right? So get the bye in the divisional round or win a wild card playoff game, you get a first-round pick. That's where I would have started. And maybe that is where the Jets started and they ended up at, no, it's going to be if you play 65% of the snaps, we're going to get that first-round pick if you want to make this deal done before the draft.
But also, I mean, the Packers were at a month and a half ago, demanding a first-round pick this year.
Yeah.
And so they also gave on that.
They just traded their first-round picks.
Yeah, they swapped them.
Yeah.
They moved 2 spots each.
That was probably the compromise. Okay, we're not going to get your first-round pick this year, but then what we'll do is make it where if Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback for the majority of the time, then you're going to get a first-round pick next year. There's your first-round pick, right? In return next year, as long as he plays.
Yeah, and
if I'm negotiating for the Jets, though, I want to make it if we're successful, like we think we will be, and can be, then you're getting a first-round pick in return.
And also, I mean, the Jets give up draft capital here, but it is a great trade compared to what we're seeing in Denver play out right now. For what they gave up for Russell Wilson with the firsts, multiples. You know, like if you just comparing that, everyone's going to say, oh, this is a great trade for Green Bay. It's a great trade for the Jets, too. They were 5-2 with Wilson last year, and they knew they weren't going anywhere with him as the starter, I'm saying, when they made the switch to Mike White. And now they bring in Rodgers, who is going to elevate them into a Super Bowl contender immediately and has just by this trade going through.
Yeah, I'd say the difference is the 5-year age difference.
Sure.
Russell Wilson, 34. Aaron Rodgers now, pushing 40? 39? I think he's 39.
38. Okay.
About to be 40. That's the big one where, you know, yes, I agree with you. Jets made out like winners compared to the Broncos in terms of compensation, but the compensation is for someone you believe is going to be your quarterback for 5 or 6 years.
Well, do the
to end out their career like the Broncos
did. The Broncos want that? No.
Well, now they're probably thinking, we'll actually, you know, give you some other picks back to take this quarterback back if it's going to be like this.
The other thing
to get him off the books for us.
Other thing that pops in my mind are look at the list of quarterbacks in the AFC. I mean, we've already kind of thrown him in there with the conversation anyway, but now it's official. Aaron Rodgers is in the AFC, and with the expectations that the Jets have, they're also, it's not like he's being traded to the NFC and where he was playing, and it's kind of, you know, a foregone conclusion that they're going places, right? You start looking at teams in the haves and the have-nots. We just start in the own division with Buffalo.
Oh,
and where Miami was midway through the season with Tua playing well and healthy, and the bar that has to be reached just to meet up with Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow on the opposite side of the bracket in the playoffs. I mean, it's a fascinating storyline for a Hall of Fame career with one Super Bowl to show for it. And now it's Super Bowl or bust expectations in the Big Apple.
Well, and this is where he really cements his legend.
Yeah.
I mean, you win. I always think this about, you know, Peyton Manning got to more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers has, but won the one with Indy. And then it was not getting to it and losing, but winning that second one is just, it puts Peyton Manning in a different stratosphere of winners. That he won, not only won 2 Super Bowls, but won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different organizations. I think this is what could put Aaron Rodgers over the top. Not that he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer regardless, but it puts him into a different echelon of winning and winners to win that second Super Bowl. It's going to be fun to watch to see what all happens with Aaron Rodgers. But I think this is, you know, this is his chance to, I think, just cement himself in a legendary status.
And I'm just thinking now of, I mean, the roster that he now goes to.
Well, this is, so the conference, you mentioned the AFC.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the Cher, Madonna, Prince division. In that, think about all of the quarterbacks that just go, you say one name. You know, they go Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Deshaun, Rodgers, A-Rod, everyone to go. I mean, just go down the list of superstar QBs in that conference. It's incredible. And now you've got Burrow, Herbert. I mean, it is an embarrassment of riches in terms of quarterback talent in the AFC for next year.
That's why, I mean, going into the draft, I can't pass on Stroud at 2. I couldn't do it. And I know
the quarterbacks. I mean,
the Texans aren't a quarterback away, but I mean they are. I mean they've got to start.
But
there,
let's also here's what
start looking ahead of how young these guys are.
Here's what, when you stack those great quarterbacks one on top of the other in a conference, it leads you to a situation where you've got more quarterback needy teams within that conference. You got one team in the Carolina Panthers who traded up to number 1 to get Bryce Young, NFC team. Outside of that, who do you have drafting at the top that need quarterback? Texans, AFC. Colts, AFC.
Yes.
The next on the list, Raiders, will need one in short order, AFC. I mean, start going down the list. Titans, possibly.
Sure.
At 11, AFC, 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 because this is true with every team in the NFL, but especially in a conference like that where you've got superstar quarterbacks, one after the other, you're going to have to knock off 2 or 3 of these guys to reach a Super Bowl and to get a chance to win one. Well, it creates an insane amount of demand for those teams that don't have that guy who can get that done within the conference.
So I quickly, as you were saying that, I'm looking up the schedule for the Jets this upcoming year. They do not play the Packers. So I was trying to figure out, okay, whenever the schedule's announced, we're going to have that type of rematch.
Oh, yeah.
But they are going to be playing the NFC East, which was the standard, the bar last year in the NFC with the crossover divisional schedules that we'll see. And then, of course, you get the 2 games against Buffalo, which are going to be awesome.
So you're going to get Aaron Rodgers versus Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers versus Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Pretty fun. I don't know that the Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones quarterback showdowns is big, but that's New York versus New York.
Exactly.
You get next year, too.
Yep. And then just the top quarterback matchups throughout are going to be a blast. Again, the trade details, and we can pop it back up here, guys, but the trade details, pretty simple in regards to the first round and how it affects the first round on Thursday. Green Bay Packers are getting the 13th pick, but they're swapping with the Jets. So the Jets are falling back to where Green Bay's selecting at 15. So when you see that the Jets are giving up their first-round pick, they're swapping first-round picks, plus the Jets are getting a 5th-round pick this year. The Packers, of course, they're giving up Aaron Rodgers. They're getting pick 13. They're getting a 2nd-round pick this year and a 6th-round pick this year. Plus, they have a 2nd-round pick next year that becomes a 1st-round pick if Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps in 2023.
Hall of Fame game this year. Aaron Rodgers versus Deshaun Watson. They'll each play 1 snap in that game, just to say that they played.
Maybe that was part of the
August
compensation.
3rd, 1 snap. We'll give you 1 handoff in that game. That's it.
I would take the under.